Dirty secrets of financial advisors exposed.
It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
Yeah, Brian, I'm really excited about this show because this is something that's near and dear to our hearts. This is something that kind of, if you want to talk about something that elicits passion from the two of us, I would say that this is one of those topics that really rings close to home for us.
Well, if you want to lose 20 minutes of your life, go on YouTube and pull up the old historical Masked Magician episodes on from Fox.
So good.
They're all out there on
good.
YouTube now. And you also get all the cringeworthy comments from the announcer because you don't realize, holy cow.
It's a little more risque than I remember.
Then you're also will be extremely impressed with the contortionists, which are the assistants on making the magic happen. But I feel like that is the role we're playing today, is that we actually did this in a content meeting, is that I brought up, I said, I feel like we could open the curtains, expose what's going on with financial advisors. Sure. How do you protect yourself? And here's another little tip. We're going to give you actual questions to ask. Don't feel like you have to write all this down, because at the end, we're going to talk about a deliverable that you can go to at moneyguy.com/resources and get it all as part of this content.
Yep, absolutely. And so one of the things we want to do in the first, so obviously for those of you that are new to the show, for those of you that are maybe hearing us for the first time, one of the things we're saying is, oh, great, these guys are financial advisors. That's what they do in their day job. And they're going to be talking about financial advisors. So there's going to be, they're not going to be completely upfront and explicit. We're going to go the exact opposite way. We're going to kind of lay everything bare for you so that you can see the good, the bad, the ugly. And I think one of the reasons why we do have a really solid ground to stand on as we communicate these things is that both of us have worked on different sides of the industry. So we kind of have some robust experience, and we've seen some of these in practice, not just at firms that we've been at, but also with client situations that we've worked with.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, I've done commissions, you've done commissions before, and now we're fee-only advisors, we're fiduciary advisors. But then here's the other part to put everybody kind of not let their guard down a little bit. We talk about the abundance cycle, meaning that all you have to do, everything is free here. And here's our only ask, is I want you to come learn, apply, grow our concepts. And we are planting seeds, but we're not planting the fast growing, like asparagus, where you're going to yield a crop, 2 months in the future. No, this is going to be like,
grow really fast?
Asparagus grows really quick in the spring.
I had no idea. I was this many minutes old.
You haven't had a garden in your backyard?
Not with asparagus.
Okay. Well, we're planting live oak trees, so it might take years for this to actually manifest, but we are planting concepts in your head that you will be able to see that this works, because that's where the ask actually comes in. Once you reach a level of success that I think you'll need us, and you'll know it, by the way, because complexity comes really fast, and you I got to get some help in here, and we'll talk about that a little later. That's where the abundance cycle comes in. You'll remember who planted the seeds. So it's kind of a win-win. We don't care that you're coming and taking all this free content and it might take years for you to reach the level that you need us. We're confident enough in what we do, it will happen.
And so one of the reasons that folks most often reach out to a financial advisor is because they think, I don't know all the things that I need to know as it relates to personal finance, or I'm not incredibly comfortable with this type of subject matter. And so approaching a financial advisor, approaching that kind of relationship, I imagine can be pretty scary. It's already a content that you don't know a lot about, and now you're trying to navigate into those waters. So what we hope to do today is equip you to have those conversations well, to feel like you are prepared, you've done your due diligence, you've done your research, if you are somebody who's thinking about moving in that direction.
So let's jump into these. Here's the first dirty secret of the financial planning industry or financial advisor industry is anyone can say that they are a financial advisor.
This is the first, and I would say probably one of the most frustrating, is that anyone, no matter what they've been doing previously, walk of life, they can go hang a shingle and say, hey, guess what? I can help you do financial planning. I can be a financial coach. I can be a financial advisor. I can tell you exactly what you ought to do with your money. And there's nobody standing behind them saying, no, hey, you can't do that unless there are certain things that happen to make that so.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that gives me a little pause, is because you want to have a little seasoning. You want to have somebody that kind of understands what they're, sharing, the guidance they're providing. I put some numbers this. We actually looked at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They post different professions, how many people work in it. There's approximately 263,000 personal financial advisors.
Okay.
But let's talk about designations, because that's an easy way. If anybody can call themselves a financial advisor, how about, is there some professional designations that can help you kind of, really sift through all the fluff and the people just self-proclaiming, and actually find people that have the experience?
Yeah, because if you're trying to sift through 263,000 different providers, you want something that allows yours to stand out. So we kind of started with the very first designation we consider is, I would say, sort of the prerequisite to doing financial planning. If you're going to be a holistic advisor, if you're going to look at all the different areas of financial planning, we think that the CFP, the Certified Financial Planner designation, is kind of the benchmark.
Yeah, and if you're looking at the numbers, by the way, 263 personal financial advisors in the United States. 89,000, close to 90,000 of them are CFPs. So that's approximately 34% of the people calling themselves financial advisors are CFPs. When we like that, we think that's actually a great kind of filter for figuring out if this is somebody who's got the experience as well as the knowledge.
And the reason that we apply weight to that specific designation is that candidates are required to meet a certain educational requirement, bachelor's degree, or equivalent study in financial planning content. They have to pass a large comprehensive exam at the culmination of their study. And then, and I love this about the CFP, they have to have either 2 years of experience as an apprentice working with the advisor or 3 years of relevant experience in the financial industry. So not only have they gotten the education piece, not only have they proven that they've retained the education and passed an exam, but they've also got an experience piece in there. They've actually taken time to be in the industry. This isn't day one for CFP professionals.
I don't mind giving the experience share that we take. I think our firm is unique in the fact that we not only hire right out of college, but we also hire career changers. We've made experience. We don't take anybody on the career changer side unless they show us that they've passed the CFP exam, because I think it is one of those aptitude requirements that shows, look, you can retain, you understand the concepts. It's a powerful filter in this whole process. Now, number two, this one I feel like is kind of, I might have put my thumb on the scale, and I'm going to go ahead and claim credit for that. CPAs, Certified Public Accountants. We all know I come from that background. But I realize this after looking at the numbers, that we need to probably hone this down a little bit more, because it's not fair to just say all CPAs are experts in personal finance.
Sure.
Because remember, when I did my first investment as a CPA candidate, taking the exam, working at a CPA firm, I fell into the same traps just like you guys, in the fact that I bought a very high commission B share for my very first investment that I started this financial journey on. That's not from a place of experience or knowledge that you do that. So even though I was at a CPA firm with all the education, I was not immune to all the things you fall into. But looking at the numbers, there are 658,000 CPAs in the United States. But here, that's a lot of people.
A lot of people. Yep.
So there's a lot of people got to do taxes, Bo. I mean, that's why we need even more. I mean, we just had tax day, just a few days ago, and I'm telling you, people are stacking in to do taxes because they're complex. But here's where I talk about that maybe I should have filtered this down even more, is because there's only 7,600 CPAs that also hold the CFP designation.
So pretty elite company if you're going to be a dual designated CPA and CFP.
And then there's 5,065 that hold the CPA PFS designation. Remember, PFS is specifically for CPAs that do financial planning. It's called personal financial specialists. So you can quickly see that number, now a lot of, just like I am a PFS and a CFP and a CPA, I'm in both of those numbers, but I'm going to give this thing a broad, brush on it, is that there's only 7,000 to 12,000 CPAs that are actually doing financial planning, focused on it. So I think if you are considering, because I think the CPA is a very powerful credential because it does require you to pass a competence test. It also has an experience requirement, but just go a little deeper with your ask of your advisor if they are a CPA and say, did you also get the CFP? Did you also get the PFS to make sure that they are putting the time in to stay focused on personal financial planning?
And you'll notice the theme here is we're trying to equip you to ask questions that let you know that your advisor, the person you're working with, has actually devoted themselves to the profession. It's not somebody that just, they decided, oh, well, I didn't like that other thing, so I'm going to move on to this next thing. If you're going to go acquire the CFP designation, or you're going to go become a CPA, you've got to put some time in. It's something you have to be committed to. And that's why we threw a third one on here. And Brian, I appreciate you giving me a nod on this one. Another designation that you can look for out there is the CFA, the Chartered Financial Analyst designation. For what I would say that the CPA designation is for taxes, the CFA would be that type of thing for investments. It's someone who really likes to dive deep into the investment curriculum and the investment world and looking at sort of macroeconomic things. And what's interesting is there are not nearly as many FAs as there are CPAs. I don't think it's a designation that a lot of people pursue because it is so specialized. It is something that's so targeted. But it is one of the ones that is a little bit harder to get. In addition to having to, have a bachelor's degree, you also have to pass a pretty gnarly exam that they deliver.
3 exams.
They deliver in 3 separate iterations. There's the level 1 exam, and then in order to take the level 2, you have to pass the level 1. And in order to take the level 3, you have to pass the level 2. So you have to successfully make it through all 3 exams. They're offered about once a year. And they're pretty rough. They're pretty intense exams. So if someone has been willing to put in the time, put in the effort to work through the CFA gauntlet to require those credentials, it probably gives you an indication that they are pretty serious about the thing that they're pursuing, about the profession that they're in.
And Bo, I want to give you a credit. I mean, every one of the exams you passed for the CFA had a less than 50% pass rate.
Yeah.
So if you just do the crank down of the math, that's a very low percentage actually make it through the whole process.
Yeah, I think in my exam cycle, we figured that from level 1 through level 3, I think it was 8 out of every 100 was the total that got in. But, again, it's one of those things, it's very specialized on investments. And when you go to hire a financial advisor, we're not saying that only choose someone who has this singular designation, or only choose someone. But these are some things to look for. These are some things to let you know that the person giving you financial advice is actually devoted to giving you sound financial advice.
Well, and there's other designations. And this is something, look, I started managing money at a very young age. This was not a career change necessarily. I was working in public accounting, but at an accounting firm that also did financial planning. And so I jumped into this at a very young age, 22, 23 years of age. But I was very insecure about my age, my young, baby face, that I wanted as many designations. And look, there was a temptation that you could go grab some of those designations that you just pay a few $100, sit for a continuing ed exam, and then voila, you now have some letters after your name. I would be careful of those. Any of those that you have to just pay for play to get access, those are different than the ones we just said. Now, look, it is true that every one of those designations we just talked about, the CFP, the CPA, the PFS, and then the CFA, did I repeat those twice?
No, you said them all.
But we hold those, and you're like, man, that's kind of got to be a little bit. They're just promoting the stuff they have. Go do your own due diligence on this. You will see that there are many, many periodicals. There's many, many articles. There's other things out there that will confirm that do the research on these designations, because what I want this to do is show that, once again, there's experience, there's mastery or understanding of the core concepts, as well as this just shows that they put in the time versus, and I'm not picking on this, I'm just telling you from experience here. I've seen people who were mortgage brokers last year are now financial planners this year. There's things like that you want to be careful of, and you can't even look at somebody's age. Don't let the grayness of hair get you, because a lot of people come to financial planning as second, third, or even fourth careers after they've done something else. So you kind of need to understand this, and that leads to the second part of this. We believe in the concept of 10,000 hours of mastery.
Yeah, it's a common Malcolm Gladwell concept that if you want to be an expert in any given field, you have to be in that field. You have to be doing that thing for 10,000 hours before you can become an expert. Well, if we think about a full working year, that's someone who's been doing it for at least 5 years or so, or around that, or they have some sort of experience that has contributed to that 10,000 hour. You want to be careful if you are your advisor's very first client, the very first person that they've worked with. So one of the questions that you should ask if you're contemplating or thinking about hiring an advisor is, can you tell me about your qualifications and experience? Can you tell me why you are qualified to be the person delivering financial advice to me, and tell me a little bit about your applicable experience? What have you done thus far in your life or in your career that makes you someone that should be giving me financial advice? And you want to feel pretty comfortable with the answers that they give you to those questions.
Well, and I want to give a compliment because I think that this balance, because look, I told you, I was one of these people that came to this career very young. So I had multiple years of being a financial planner, but I was young.
Sure.
I didn't have my own experience with my own money. We do give value, and I think this is something you should build when you're trying to figure out where did that 10,000 hours come from. We have, just like the Money Guy Show has been outstanding at bringing us prospects and relationships with you guys, it's also brought us financial advisors. Yep. And here's what's amazing to me, guys. We've assembled a whole team that not only have background in financial or, engineering or doctors. I mean, we have very diverse things, but these are people who use these concepts themselves to build their own wealth. Because we asked that question in the interview. What do you do with your own money? And this is kind of one of those things that, leads into number 2, and we'll get into that, but pay attention to what's the industry experience as well as what's your own experience with money, because there's a lot of value on somebody who's built their own 7-figure net worth that they can share a lot of that. There's probably not much you can throw their way that they don't know if they've already navigated those waters themselves.
So number 2, the second dirty little secret that you'll want to know about a financial advisor is that a lot of advisors only sell what they know. Now, at the front, you might think, well, that's great. An advisor only sells me what they know, what they're familiar with, talks about what they're well-versed on. While that might sound good, what that is not telling you is that there might be a lot of things that advisor is not familiar with or does not know or does not have experience with. And so what you actually end up with is a one-size-fits-all solution.
Now, Bo, you had an experience share from you actually worked in the insurance industry in college. Is this the appropriate time for you to kind of share some of that?
Yeah, so what was really, really interesting is in college, I interned with a very large insurance company. And so what we do is we'd go out and we were selling permanent life insurance, whole life insurance. What was really interesting is that this company had acquired an investment company a number of years before I started. And every time that somebody asked a question, it was the same answer. It was, hey, I want to plan for retirement. What should I do? And the unit director, who was kind of like my mentor, would say, oh, you should buy
this
X,
mutual fund.
This mutual fund, right? And then when someone say, hey, well, I want to do college planning. What should I do? Oh, you should buy this mutual fund. Oh, well, I'm thinking about saving for a house down payment. This mutual fund. And I remember thinking, there's no way that.
And it was always that family of funds.
It was always
too.
that exact
same family of funds that was owned by that insurance company.
Yep, absolutely. And so it was crazy to me that singular solution was the solution for every single problem. So you want to make sure that when you do approach a financial advisor, they are prepared and equipped to help you navigate the different types of questions that you're looking for. If you're looking for tax strategy or if you're looking for investment help, someone who's only recommending insurance products may not be the perfect fit for what you're looking for.
Well, and I think, because look, I asked a few of my insurance agent friends, because look, we're not against life insurance. We actually recommend quite a bit of life insurance. We're just saying make sure you understand what life insurance is for, use it appropriately. And I remember, saying, do you practice what you preach or do you use your own products? And surprisingly, a lot of the life insurance people will have a whole basket of permanent policies that they also own. But there's one big difference between you and the person that sells those products. They don't pay commissions to themselves, so they get access to those products. So yes, it behooves them to use their own products on that, but it's not necessarily the same experience you'd have. So pay attention to what you need. And we thought this went deeper into how do people get paid, or how, what's their credentials on how they get their advice to you?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So we did a quick little, Daniel helped us put together this little analysis. And we know that right now, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there are 263,000 personal financial advisors in the U.S. We've already covered that. We've also uncovered that there are 89,826 CFP professionals. So again, one of the designations that we would encourage someone to pursue if they're looking for someone to help you with a total financial picture. Well, what's really, really interesting is of that number, only 3,800 are fee-only advisors. And what a fee-only advisor means is that they're not selling products, they're providing guidance and you're paying them for the advice that they give. So whether you're looking to solve problem A, problem B, or problem C, they can step in and help you with solution X or solution Y or solution Z, and you're not paying them based on the solution they recommend. Rather, you're paying them based on the advice and the guidance that they're giving. You can see how quickly those numbers whittle down. So we would recommend before you go into a relationship, know what you're looking for so that you can make sure the things that the advisor is speaking to you about are things that you actually want them to be helping you. They're actually solving problems you want them to help you solve.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Out of 100 advisors, approximately 34 are going to have the CFP designation. Probably, they put the extra time in. That's a filter. Mm-hmm. But then there's only going to be like 1.4. I told Daniel we should have shaded in like 40% of one of those bodies there. But basically 1 out of 100 is going to be fee only, which, man, that tells you a lot about how just interesting the financial field mm-hmm. is. It goes back to step one. I mean, dirty little secret one is anybody can call themselves a financial advisor. And number two, people are kind of honed in only on what their avenues are, and that might not be what's best for you.
So here's a really great question to ask if you're thinking about hiring an advisor. What services do you offer, and what problems do you help solve? A lot of advisors will say, hey, we just do investment management. We are money runners. We're asset managers. That's what we do. We're not going to talk about your taxes, and we're not going to review your insurance. We don't care about your estate plan. We're just going to do investments. Other advisors will say, hey, I only want to do tax analysis. And some will say, I only want to do insurance. Make sure you understand that for your unique situation, what you are looking for is what your advisor can actually deliver. If all you need is insurance, go to someone who sells you insurance, not insurance with a whole estate plan, with a whole fill in the blank. Or if you think you want someone to look at your whole picture, make sure they're not looking at just one small piece of the puzzle that you have.
And look, we picked on insurance agents. I want to play this on the completely different card of it. There's a super low-cost provider mm-hmm. that offers financial planning. I use air quotes, the rabbit ears for financial planning, is that
call their 800 number.
They will only use their low-cost products. By the way, their products are outstanding. Yep. We talk about them all the time in the index target retirement space. But you'll find out very quickly, if you want to talk about a 401k at an employer outside, not going to be willing to do that. Nope. If you want to talk about your property and casualty insurance on your house or your vehicles, not going to be willing to do that. I mean, they only focus on the products they know. They stay in their lane. That gives me pause. So just like you can have the insurance agent only sells you insurance, the low-cost mutual fund company might only talk to you about their low-cost mutual funds and not willing to go outside of that. Be very careful of finding an advisor that will focus on you, not just the products that they sell, and the advice is kind of incidental to that. So let's go to number 3. Number 3 is, the dirty little secret is many advisors actually don't practice what they preach.
Yeah, this one I think is... I think it'd be surprising to most folks to know that the advice that you are being given is not what they are doing with themselves. I had a client the other day. They sold a business and we're working through some investment stuff. And I was like, well, how do you want to do this? And he said, hey, well, you know what? Just do it the way that you would do it if it was your mama's money. That's literally what he said to me. And it's like, what a great metric to think about how you measure. Is the advice that your advisors give, is that something they would do for themselves? That's something they do for their closest relatives? And if it's not, that should immediately be a red flag you kind of throw your hands up at.
Well, I think this is a great question. And I've had people, you tell me sometimes what the comments are in the chat room, and people are like, there's no way Brian does index funds. And I think they'd be shocked. I mean, if you look at my portfolio of investments, it looks like our clients. It is index funds. I pretty much own index funds, and then I told you I own one individual stock. And that's really what I'm doing, because I believe we should eat the food that we prepare in our kitchen. It's very concerning. Think about this. If you were over at somebody's house and they come out and they lay out this spread of food before you, and then they're all sitting there watching you eat. You're like,
what's going on?
Why aren't y'all eating? Like, no, Yeah, we make the food. We don't
know
eat
it
the
went into
food
it.
around here. So, I mean, that would give you pause. You'd be like, why don't you eat what you prepared in your kitchen? I feel like that's what happens financially. And we have proof of that. Look, I mean, me and Daniel were doing some research, and here's what we found. Half of the 15,000 mutual funds in the United States are run by portfolio managers who do not invest a single dollar of their own money into their products.
I'm going to say that again. Half of the mutual funds in this country are run by folks who don't even invest in the strategy that they're running. Again, that should be a huge red flag if your advisor says, hey, do as I say, not as I do.
Financial Times posted an article. This one kind of caught me off guard. Because it's not their S&P or total market indexes. It has to be some of their managed stuff. 3 out of 4 funds at Vanguard are run by managers who do not invest anything in their fund.
Yeah, that sounds interesting because I think they would be ones that be like, I believe in what I'm doing. This is where my assets are going to be housed. This is the way that I'm going to manage my assets.
Based upon how their company's structured, that means those managers are probably in the index funds,
Right.
but then they're running
Right.
the active management
active
component,
funds.
which is just a little unique. So that's something. How do you protect yourself? What question can you ask to protect yourself from that?
So here's a really great question. Ask your advisor, can you tell me about your investment philosophy first and your approach to financial planning? How do you go about navigating these decisions? And one of the things, Brian, I've heard you do, and I do it with my clients, I'll actually tell my clients, hey, this portfolio that I've recommended for you, I'm investing in the exact same thing. I own the exact same index funds. My allocation based on the things I have going on looks similar. One of the questions I field all the time is, hey, okay, you're an advisor. I know what you do for clients, but hey, what stocks are you buying right now? Hey, how much crypto do you have? And look, for me personally, I've not played with that. It's not something that's incredibly interesting or intriguing to me. And I'm very forthcoming with my clients or with friends about that. Hey, what we say about this really boring path to wealth is exactly what we do. And while it is boring, it is incredibly effective, and over a long time period, it works really, really well.
No doubt. So let's talk about number 4 on Dirty Little Secrets about financial advisors. Number 4 is many advisors will work with anyone and everyone. Now, Bo, here's what's interesting about this one. This sounds noble.
That sounds great. It's like, that's awesome. What a good...
I love advisors
making
that'll
the
work
world
with
better.
anyone and everyone. That sounds outstanding. What you might find, though, is that this means they're not experts in their craft. They spend probably more time out there hunting assets and bringing them in. And then you might just be one of many. I mean, how do you have a personalized relationship if you're one of 600 clients?
Yeah, it's so funny. I remember when I was going to conferences early on in my career, and young folks at conferences, you kind of talk about things like, and I remember these young guys at the conference be like, oh yeah, my senior advisor has 1,200 clients. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, I guess. But how on earth can you do like really great work and know what's going on in the lives of that many folks? I think that one of the problems that happens in our industry specifically, it turns into a volume-based business where it's more about the next sale, the next person, the next seat, the next commission, the next fill in the blank. And all of a sudden, it's more about closing the deal, getting the transaction, and moving to the next one, moving to the next one, moving to the next one. I don't know if you're doing it that way, if you're really doing fantastic work for the people that you're coming in contact with.
Yeah, if you're always be cobbling. That's the famous saying that's out there, on the ABCs, is if you're focusing on the cobbling only and not actually developing your craft, how can you actually be great at what you do? And that's why here's one of those things, a lot of you guys, you're going to file this away because this is a powerful concept you've probably never heard of, but it's something we actually implement here at Abound Wealth, is Dunbar's number.
So you hear that, and I imagine your first question is, what's Dunbar's number? Well, anytime we share vocabulary, we like to give you a definition. Dunbar's number represents the cognitive limit to the number of people one can maintain stable relationships with, most often in a business setting, and it's most often cited as around about 150. In very layman's terms, when it comes to like intimate settings, intimate business settings, there's really only about 150 folks that you can have a really solid relationship with and know what's going on, who they are, what their circumstances are, before it all starts to kind of get jumbled together.
Yeah, so if you find out your advisor's working with 600 people or 400 people, they're going to be spread really thin, and I think that could be a really big highlight of an issue that you just need to explore to make sure, how do you fit into this whole process? And then I would even take it a little step further, is that where do you fit into your advisor on their core competence? Are you their smallest client? Because if you are their smallest client, what does that mean from a service issue? If you're the biggest client, are they equipped to handle all your unique complex needs? These are all important things that you ought to consider discussing.
It's a great question to ask, that when you are thinking about any advisor, what types of clients do you usually work with? And you want to make sure that either the types of clients they work with sound like you or sound like the direction that you are moving. You just want to have a nice understanding. And, one of the things we talk about all the time here, Brian, is one of the reasons that we've been hiring so aggressively and growing our team is because we want that Dunbar number to stay true through time. So even though the firm may be getting bigger and the firm may be getting larger, we really, again, practice what we preach. We want to limit the number of relationships that any one advisor is working on. And we think if your advisor will prioritize doing that over the long term, it's going to make sure that they're focusing on you and your situation the way that you ought to be focused on.
No doubt, no doubt. I think this one's important when we get to number 5 is advisors don't get paid how you think they do.
Advisors don't get paid how
That was a weird transition.
So a lot of folks don't know how their advisors get paid at all. Like, this is one that drives me nuts. Whenever a potential client will come in, and I'll always ask the question, if they're coming from another advisory firm, I want to know, tell me about your experience. Why are you changing? What went wrong? And then I'll always ask this question, well, how'd your advisor get paid? And this one right here drives me absolutely bonkers, and it happens at least once a year. Oh, they don't charge me anything.
Yeah.
They tell me, I don't actually pay my advisor. Their company pays them. And I'm like, oh, so sweet of them.
Yeah.
So sweet of them to just do it for charity, do it out of the goodness of their heart.
Yeah, so I think you definitely need to understand how people get paid. We kind of touched on this when I was going over number 2 as well, is that the difference between like CFPs and fiduciaries and so forth. But commission, I think that's where the majority of financial advisors are. You need to understand that the majority of the industry is actually paid for the products they sell you. It's actually written into the law that the actual financial planning advice is incidental to them selling you the products. That's why they're under the standard of suitability. Whereas if you then look at Feeonly, first of all, to be a Feeonly advisor, most of them are members of NAPFA.
Yep.
You have to actually take a fiduciary oath to do that. That's pretty powerful. And this means that you're only being paid by the client. That's a pretty valuable concept. If you're wondering, are they only selling me this because they get paid a commission versus this person over here? If they're only selling this because they think it's in my best interest, that's probably going to take away some of those conflicts of interest.
Yeah, again, this is a little bit of an experience share. Early on in my career, I was with this insurance company, and predominantly we sold this company's insurance, but we could write a few other insurance companies. Not many, but there were a few others. It was amazing to me how often the advice that we shared was always to sell this insurance company's policy. Well, me being in the back end, I saw because the commission was better, right? I could recommend insurance policy A or insurance policy B, but A was going to pay a better commission, so that's probably going to be the one that I recommended. What we really love about the fee-only space is that whether you recommend solution A or solution B or solution C for a client, you are indifferent to which one they choose because the client is paying you for the advice, not paying you depending on which product that you go with. We just think that what it really allows you to do is sit on the same side of the table as your clients as opposed to being in opposition.
Well, there's a third column of financial advisors too, is because you got commission. They're only paid by the products that they're selling. Fee only is only paid by the customer. Well, there's a hybrid that sits right in between. That's fee-based advisors. They get a combination. They can do wrap accounts or charge you what's called assets under management as a percentage of the assets they manage. They can also still sell life insurance. So they kind of can do it all. And I feel like this has been the answer from a lot of the financial industry because they see that business is slowly leaking over to the fee-only side. So they came up with this hybrid model to help them look like you're getting the best of all worlds. And that is, it's awesome if you can get the benefit of only paying a set fee on the investment part, but it still doesn't take away that conflict on that they still might be issuing products or offering advice on things that then comes back to benefit them through commissions. just be very careful and make sure you understand how they get paid.
Yeah, a lot of again, we have a fee-only firm that we operate in our day job, and a lot of clients tell us, "Hey, guys, I just wish I could buy the insurance from you. You recommended this term life policy. I just wish I could buy it from you guys." And we recognize, yeah, maybe it would be beneficial if we could open up the envelope. But one of the things that we love is by not allowing that conflict to keep in, we prohibit ourselves from recommending something that may not be in the best interest of our client. There's nothing, we're not saying there's anything wrong with fee-based, but even when that opportunity exists, it can cause you to drift. So a really great question to ask your advisor if you're thinking about working with advisors, how are you making money and how are you getting paid? If I implement the solutions that you're recommending, or if I pursue the strategy that you are telling me to do, how does that impact you economically? Yeah. We have clients ask us that all the time. If you're thinking about buying a big product, a specific type of product, like an annuity or something like that, you should ask that question. How does this benefit you? And then you kind of step back and do some analysis and say, okay, does that pass the sniff test or no? That doesn't make sense that you would make that much off of us spending an hour of time together with nothing ongoing.
And that leads to, because I love the transition that this worked out nicely, is number 6 is every advisor has a conflict of interest, even the good ones.
Now, I see right there, Brian, you have every, EVERY, in all caps, meaning that no one is excluded from this whole conflict of interest thing.
Yeah, everybody has a conflict of interest. Anytime somebody is offering you for payment, you have to wonder, what's the catch? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's something, look, you're watching a podcast or you're listening to a podcast, you're watching a YouTube channel. What's the catch? And I kind of alluded to this at the beginning of the show, is our catch. We can give away all the free advice. First of all, that's how this passion project started. I actually did not like the fact that there was a whole group of people that did not qualify for my services because I had account minimums to work on the fee-only side. So I wanted to just create good content. Had no idea this was going to turn out to be the greatest marketing concept in the world. Yep. And the reason I think it is so successful is because there's a pureness in the fact that, yes, we get paid when we turn viewers and listeners into clients, but the ask is so long in the making. Right. As in the fact that the abundance cycle is you can come and learn all this stuff for free, but still at the end of the day, there is a conflict of interest. And let me explain specifically, like us as fee-only advisors, what I mean by that. We get paid, the more assets we manage, the more money we make. Mm-hmm. I mean, so that would, if you take that to the next level and go, well, where's the conflict in that? Obviously, somebody comes to us and says, I want to pay off my house. Mm-hmm. If they take $200,000 or $300,000 out of the assets we're managing,
we'll make less.
We make less money. So that's a conflict of interest. Mm-hmm. Now, here's how you overcome that: is you have good communication, you have an understanding. We are very upfront. We're very transparent on prepaying low interest debt. We even built it in the financial order of operations. Yep. We can overcome our conflict of interest because I think we can explain to you the mathematics as well as the concept of why we believe this, so that you can say, you know what, those guys do have a conflict, but because I understand where they're coming from, I don't think that's why they're giving me the advice. You have to do that with everybody who has a conflict of interest. If you think about somebody like, look, I should have probably done a screenshot. I used to get emails. I think they finally took me off their mailing list because I brought it up. Because I put it on. I started putting it on slides to show the emails that financial advisors get, talking about the commissions on equity indexed annuities and other type of products like that, where those products that they're pitched at such a high commission percentage, there's a huge, conflict of interest. It's like a Looney Tunes commercial. Whenever the characters in Looney Tunes are hungry, they all of a sudden look around there, everything looks like a chicken bone. Uh-huh. That's when you put the commission too high. All of a sudden, all your friends and family start looking like chicken bone commissions. That you want to go snack on and get those sales. You need to understand everybody has a conflict of interest. Just make sure you understand what it is and have a good communication, about the whole process.
Yeah, so a really great question that you can ask is, who else stands to gain from the advice you give me? Or who else stands to gain from the way that we work together? You gave the example, Brian, of paying off a mortgage. 2 other really quick examples that came to my mind. If you're working with an asset-based manager and it comes down to the time where you have to decide, do take a lump sum pension benefit or do I annuitize that lump sum?
Oh, that's a great
Obviously,
point.
a lump sum would be better for the advisor if they charge it off the asset. So one of the things that we always do for clients is we lay that on the table and say, hey, if you choose this, we will make more money because of this. But even given that's the circumstance, this is the mathematics on which makes the most sense. And sometimes it makes more sense to do the lump sum, and sometimes it makes more sense to do the annuitized benefit. Advisors who get paid hourly, that's one of the things that some of the folks are asking here. Here's one of the big conflicts on that. Often phone calls turn into meetings, right? If you want to send your advisor a question, hey, I've got this really quick question. Can you help me out with this? I was like, oh, you know what? Let's set up some time to meet and let's go through an entire analysis. That may not actually be what is in your best interest. So you just want to understand where the conflict exists, and you want to make sure that your advisor is forthcoming about what that conflict is.
Yeah, I mean, that gets in it. Look, hourly, I respect it a lot, but also I worry about how fast the world changes.
Sure.
You get a plan, in 2 months from now, is that plan as good?
How about tax law changes?
I mean, tax law changes. There's lots of things on that. And look, I'll just tell you that your biggest limitation as an advisor is time. Mm-hmm. And I think about that, where that comes into play for a financial advisor. If somebody does a shadow day with me, I'm going to say, look, for young, good financial advisors, you have to be very deliberate with what your time is worth. That's why I can give away all the free information on these shows, because my time is aggregated, and batched when I do content creation. I can give that away for free.
Yep.
You want time with me or Bo? It's actually expensive because we have very limited. So that's something I would with hourly, their conflict is what you have to weigh in, where the value proposition comes into. And I would ask them, are they even using their time as efficiently? Because that goes into, do you eat what you're cooking in the kitchen? So it's just something to pay attention to. Number 7, this is a weird transition. Maybe we should have put this one a little differently, but some advisors are actual crooks.
Quite literally, and we've seen story after story after stories. There are a lot of advisors out there. There are bad advisors. There are folks who maybe don't give great advice or provide great solutions or work super efficiently. And then there are actual crooks. There are actual criminals out there that live in our space and hold themselves out as being advisors when they, in fact, are not advisors.
Yeah, I mean, look, Bernie Madoff passed away not too long ago. I think maybe
one of the most famous.
Yeah,
probably.
I mean, he was one of the big scandals out there. There's even, what's so interesting, I was watching, if you guys are watching that new Netflix series on Money Explained or whatever, the guy who wrote the book on how to spot scam artists was actually a victim of.
He was a victim of Madoff. It's freaking hilarious.
I mean, so he's actually in the interview. Other thing, he's like, yeah, it's kind of embarrassing that this is what I make my career in. And it just shows how we're all susceptible to, you have to be careful. And here's some indicators that you need to pay attention to. If, somebody starts using statements like you can't lose, guaranteed, sure thing, if their results look better than what should be possible, if it's too good to be true, it very likely is. You need to pay attention to that.
You said it perfectly. If something sounds like, man, that just sounds too good, then maybe take a step back, do some alternative research. Now, I've told folks before about HSAs, and they've said to me, that just sounds too good to be true, triple tax advantage. And I always say, hey, go do your research, do your homework. It's legit. If someone says, oh, you know what, hey, just so you know, hey, don't tell anybody else, but I beat the market every year for the last 20 years. Don't tell anybody, but come sign up and you can have that too. I'd run 1,000 miles an hour in the other direction. Be careful of people that promise you something. And most often, in my experience, these people come out when things are scary. Yeah. These people come out when there's a big downturn or when the market is having a lot of volatility. And they prey on folks that are susceptible to that. So one of the best ways to protect yourself from getting into that situation is to have a good plan on the front end so that when volatility comes, you're not looking for the exits, finding that magic bullet that's going to step in and save you.
Well, it's also, I think you can do some due diligence on this, guys. I mean, look, go on, if somebody says that they're a CFP, actually go on the CFP board website to verify that they are credentialed. You can also go on broker check, and actually see if they're a commission advisor. Are there any complaints against them that have been recorded? I mean, there's all kind of ways that you can actually go look and see if there's any complaints, lawsuits, and just verify that you're on good, stable ground. And then I'll throw out one other one because I know there's a lot of do-it-yourselfers that love the Money Guy show. This isn't necessarily crook, but it's definitely misleading in the fact if somebody's got a system that's too good to be true, always ask yourself, why are they selling the system versus just making a fortune with the system? I mean, that's something. Now, look, we can share the financial order of operations because this accelerates your path to becoming a client of our financial planning firm. So that system actually is accelerating your success or how to handle each dollar. It's not like this is a trading platform where I'm saying, hey, go buy this system, and I'm going to tell you, guaranteed, you're going to know when to buy low, sell high, because it's as easy as just watching this indicator. If it was that easy, they would just use it themselves.
That's exactly right. So the question that we're going to equip you to ask is, have you ever been professionally disciplined? Now, I don't know about you guys, but if you've ever interacted with a lot of crooks in your life, they're not awfully forthcoming about their crookdom, right? That's why it is a good idea. If you are going to hire an advisor, make sure you use those resources. Go out to Broker Check if they're a fin advisor. Review their ADV if they are an RI, if they're a registered investment advisor firm. Go to the CFP board. Use the resources available to you to make sure that you know if there's something this advisor isn't telling you that you ought to know about.
Yeah, no doubt. So that leads to number 8. Not all advisors are legally required to act in your best interest. Now, you would think this one kind of is like, what? What are they talking
why does that
about?
make sense?
Yeah, because you think you're hiring somebody for advice, they're going to give you the best advice. Mm-hmm. And you find out, nope, that's not the way this industry necessarily works. Nope. I mean, there's all kind of conflicts. Once again, it comes back to conflicts of interest. And the government has actually allowed these conflicts of interest to actually survive and even, I'll say, flourish.
Yep.
Because in the fact of there's 2 different standards when it comes to investing. There's suitability. Mm-hmm. That's what a lot of the commission folks have. And then there's fiduciary. Now, realize fiduciary has a legal standard to it. Suitability just means, and I've mentioned this earlier in today's show, is that suitability just means financial planning advice is incidental to you buying products from this advisor.
Now, I've sat in enough meetings with you, Brian. I've heard you use a dietary analogy that I think actually sums it up pretty well.
You imagine you hire a dietitian. And you're trying to lose a few pounds. That's one of the things. Every time we take pictures, I'm about to show you a picture and you'll see why I'm self-conscious about certain things. It would be nice when you hire the dietitian if they would actually give you the advice on what would actually help you reach the goal of losing the few pounds or getting in better shape. But what if you hired this dietitian and they're like, you know what? Candy bars. You can eat all the candy bars you want. And you're like, wait a minute. I'm trying to lose weight. There's no way that candy bars are the way to me getting the best version of my physical self. I'm like, well, you're suitable. You can eat a candy bar. Your
survive.
Body will digest it. You will survive eating that candy bar. So it's suitable for you. And you're like, wait, that's a bunch of money. That's just not what I signed up for. That's why fiduciary is a much higher standard, because when an advisor signs on that they have a fiduciary obligation to you, it means they have to put your interest ahead of their own, and they're legally bound to that standard. Now, you probably ask yourself, well, how do I know if somebody is a fiduciary versus just this suitability requirement?
The answer is they should have, at some point, through some organization or some entity, taken a fiduciary oath. They ought to have said, hey, yes, I am going to stake my claim. I'm going to pin down that I am going to act as a fiduciary when it comes to interacting with my clients. And if you don't believe us, here is a picture of both me and Brian with our fiduciary oaths. When you come to do your tour of the office here in Nashville, not if, but when you come to do your tour, we'll walk you around, and 2 of the things you'll get to see are each of our fiduciary oaths. Now, I know that yours is older than mine. I'm not sure why mine's yellow. I feel like mine, it just must have been printed on better paper.
Well, there's 2 things about this fiduciary oath. First of all, I wanted to read it. I had this thing sitting on the table for the content meeting this morning, and everybody's like, you're not going to read that, are you? I was like, why? And then I started reading it today. I was like, let me hear how you're going to read it. And then about 2 sentences in, I was like, you're right. This isn't going to work very well. The second thing I want to point out is, and I had them add a slide to prove my point on this. I look at this photo, and I usually think when something like a hair is out of place or or something that it's the content team totally picking on me with a bad cut with the paintbrush or whatever else they do. So when I first saw this picture, I was like, man, they cut my bicep off. I mean, if you look at the picture here, there's a good 1.5 inches from where my bicep ends and then where the t-shirt, there's a gap there. And then recently we posted a map where, because we keep track of where we have clients across the country, and we posted on social media a picture. We got a few more new states added to the map. And guys, this thing went, you blew it up with comments, because Bo just standing there in his natural state, and I'm looking at his shirt and it looks like it's about to burst at the seams. I mean, there's no 1.5 inch gap between the bicep and the shirt. And I mean, this is something that I had to, when I saw this picture, I was like, okay, I don't mind sharing that. Obviously, Bo's spending a little more time on arm days, but this is back to the dietary thing. If I went to the dietitian and I said, I want to have biceps like Bo, they probably are not going to tell me to eat candy bars. That might be suitable before a workout to get extra energy because it has sugar, but that is not going to be in my best interest to get biceps like Bo. So, I mean, think about that when you're trying to figure out suitability versus fiduciary. The fiduciary, personal trainer, dietitian is actually going to try to help you grow your body to the best version of itself versus just saying, your body will digest it. You're okay. You're human.
So here's a really great question to ask. If you are thinking about hiring an advisor, or even if you're currently working with someone, just ask them, hey, are you a fiduciary? Can I see a copy of the fiduciary oath that you've taken? Talk to me about the organizations that you're a part of or that you're a member of that make you subscribe to this. You just want to know. Now, they may say, hey, I'm not. I work with a firm and that's not allowed. But here's how I make sure that I'm always putting my client's best interests ahead of my own. You just want to make sure that they can answer that question well and they can walk you through it. If they say, hey, what's a fiduciary? Never heard of it. I'd be like, give them a link to the show, and it'll be fantastic for them.
Yeah, and I think that leads to, because Bo, there's several things. First of all, we're going to share when to go pro, and then we can kind of close out today's show with a deliverable that is free to everybody. But a lot of people are probably sitting out there right now going, I don't know when to go pro. Give me some details of when I've crossed into that threshold of graduating from the abundance cycle.
So generally, we think that it makes sense to hire an advisor when one of three things happens. And for most folks in our experience, sometimes it's a convergence of all of these things. The first is the size of the decisions you're making. Maybe it's the portfolio, or maybe it's the family, or maybe it's the business, or maybe it's the incentives, or maybe it's the tax. But the gravity of the financial situations that you're making is just too great for you to pursue on your own. You're thinking, man, if I, when I was starting out, if I screwed up with a little bit, it wouldn't be a big deal. But now this is a big deal. If I screw this up, retirement, changing jobs, moving, if I don't make this decision right, the scope of this decision has large implications. The gravity of it is big. Maybe I should hire an advisor. The second thing that happens, and this happens just naturally as you move in your wealth journey, is complexity. Your financial situation becomes more complex than you feel equipped to help. When you first did your tax return, your first year out of college, it was a 2-page tax return. You got it done in 3 minutes on April the 14th. And now there's pages and schedules, and there's all these different things, and there's incentives and all of this stuff, and you just say, man, I don't know what I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing all of the things the way that I should be. I don't know if I'm being as efficient as I should be. And then the third thing is time. And this one, I think, if you're anyone else out there that's in the messy middle, you recognize that with all of your work responsibilities and family responsibilities and social responsibilities and all of the things in life that pull on us, one of the things that most often gets put on the back burner are our financial circumstances. We don't ever get those estate documents done. We don't ever rebalance that portfolio. We don't ever recheck our savings rate. You want to make sure that you're not letting that stuff get on the back burner. And one of the things that an advisor can do for you is be that squeaky wheel when you need them to be a squeaky wheel and keep that stuff in front of you.
Yeah, when you look at all three of these things, first of all, I talk about all the time, size of portfolio has a huge impact when I'm talking about compounding. If you take $1 million, if it grows 20%, that's $200,000. Whereas when it's $50,000, that's $10,000. There's a huge difference because one is it might have replaced a month's worth of income, Whereas the other one, that's years of living expenses replaced. Just like it's exciting when it goes up, it can be catastrophic when it's going down. So that's why we talk about size, is that you have to be careful, and that leads to the complexity side too. I mean, one of the things I remember why I think I was a decent paid tax preparer is because I was always trying to find, ways to save clients money to pay for my tax prep fees. We do the exact same thing with financial planning. I'm always trying to come up with concepts, whether it's helping you with a Roth conversion strategy, whether it's talking about your tax location, between your taxable accounts, your tax deferred, and your tax free. We're always trying to figure out ways to make you the best version of yourself financially. And then that also checks the box on that complexity so that you get to enjoy, yes, this sophisticated plan, but you get to just treat it more like it's a simple decision since you have professionals that are kind of helping you in the background. And then that leads to the time component. And you're building this for a why and a reason. So hopefully you have more time to focus on what you value. Those things taken together creates that beautiful critical mass of this is when you graduate to the next level.
Now, Brian, I always like to talk about these two. There's a fourth honorable mention that you always mention, that you always bring up. And you say, hey, one of the other reasons why you might want to think about going pro is because legacy is on your mind. You're thinking about the family. Talk a little bit about where that comes from.
We have brilliant clients. I mean, you guys should know, there's several of you, you're watching this, you know who you are. We've told you when we go through your investment policy meeting, when we talk through design as well as ongoing advisory stuff, you're brilliant. You could do this in another lifetime. You should have been a financial advisor. Instead of being a pilot, instead of being an engineer, you could have been a financial advisor because your brain is wired in the right way that you're knocking everything out of the park with the way you're processing the decisions. But you recognize you're only one person. And we have quite a few brilliant people that have done an incredible job of do-it-yourself all the way through to financial independence, but they're getting a little older and they're like, I'm worried what happens, who has the same wiring that I have to make sure my loved one, whether it's my husband or wife, is not left holding the bag and not knowing what to do, because I've worked too hard building this with my loved ones to see this not continue in some type of legacy. That's where we come in on that too, is even though these people are brilliant, they respect that we're wired in that financial mutant mindset so that will continue on beyond even when they leave this planet.
So, if you are someone out there who's considering hiring an advisor, or you think you're at the crossroads, or maybe you've hit one of these or some mix of these, we want to equip you to navigate that decision well. So if you go out to our website, you can go to moneyguy.com/resources. We have updated these 8 questions to reflect the stuff that we've talked about on today's show. This is 8 questions to ask your financial advisor. And I think if you're going to go have a meeting with an advisor, print this out and take it with you. Say, hey, I listened to this financial podcast. 1, have you heard of it? 2, can you help me answer these questions so that I know that you are the person that I'm willing to work for? What I think is hilarious is I talk to prospects even now, and I can hear them on the other side of the phone asking me these questions, and I'm like, and I'll ask, hey, are you reading me? They're like, yeah. I'm like, that's great. That's awesome. You should be. These are great questions, and you should feel very comfortable with the answers that the advisor gives you. So if you do have an advisor, if you are thinking about hiring an advisor, if you have a family member who's thinking about hiring an advisor, go out to moneyguy.com/resources. This is completely free. Download this deliverable and let this help you pick someone to help you navigate the rest of your financial life.
Guys, we love sharing this stuff because you can tell. I mean, we really are playing the long game with our audience. I want you to be the best version of yourself financially, investing yourself. Be a good field general that every dollar in your army of dollar bills has a purpose, has a why, knows where it's going to be best utilized. That's what we're trying to create with the Money Guy Show. Thank you for subscribing on YouTube. Thank you for supporting us out there in podcast land, because that's where we started this thing in 2006. We're just so thankful for everything you guys provide, and we're going to keep creating content. I'm your host, Brian Preston, Mr. Bo Hansen. Money Guy team, out.